Good afternoon, Planet Earthgate TV. And now for the show.
Good afternoon, Planet Earth.
Planet Earth. Welcome to Good Afternoon, Planet Earth, everybody. Today we have a very special guest, Jackie Coban, Enneagram and life coach. Did I say Enneagram right?
Enneagram. Close, very close.
Cool. We're so excited to have you here, especially for our New Year's podcast. This is going to be coming out January 4th. So feeling motivated, although I feel like this whole year has been a new year for change has got to happen. So I've been in New Year resolution mode since forever.
Since March, right?
Exactly. Oh, it's just so cool. Like as artists, I know like Dominic can probably relate to a few things. Like artists, our gift is that we are like neurotic and analytical, but also like zoned out in a way to see bigger pictures and observe things. But that's our biggest flaw as well. Is that like for me, because I'm so analytical, I feel so uncomfortable asking for opportunities for things. And since I was in LA waitressing at this diner all the celebrities went to, this one director said, "Oh yeah, you're an actor, here, email me." And I was like, "Thank you." Like to his face, I was like, "Thank you so much." I went home and I was torn. I was like, I don't want to let down this nice gentleman that gave me a chance. So I didn't email him at all. It's like, why did I hurt myself that way? But I was only 20, so it was like,
Right.
But first let's get into like what you do and everything. First of all, what exactly is an Enneagram? I pulled up this chart over here. It's like 9 different points of a personality.
There's a lot to it. I'm happy to explain it.
I was looking at this like, I hope Amy tries to read this word because I don't want to try to read it. This was crazy to me that this is even a thing. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about this too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. And speaking to what you were saying a little, Amy, I often tell people, especially once you get into the Enneagram, into the nitty gritty of who you are, because I don't think what you were doing was an artist thing. I think it was an Amy thing, right? And I always tell people, 9 times out of 10, the things that we think are flaws are actually like superpowers, but we just don't manage them well.
Right.
And we gotta learn to manage. So people are like, "Oh, I'm growing in this area, I'm working on this," and I try to switch language and say we're managing this area because we have to always know that we're in control of those things.
I like that.
Yeah. Now, when you say managing these areas, like, are you saying like there's certain things like you just make a note of like everything? Because sometimes it's like, can you go into that more, like how you would manage the areas or?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, let's say there is a personality type that is, feels like they're an enabler. I'm an enabler for everybody around me. And that's a flaw of mine. When really, if you look at it closely enough, that's a person who loves unconditionally, but hasn't managed that power well.
Wow.
So a lot of times they're like, "Oh, people are like, I'm too emotional." And it's like, no, you're the perfect amount of emotional. You just got to manage your emotions a little bit. Like it's everybody's got these like superpowers that just sit under the surface and we're like flaw because we don't pay attention to it enough. And then it goes rotten like a tomato.
How did you get into this? Because this is such an interesting thing to like, I just found out about this.
Yeah. Well, so essentially, long story short, and I think most people experience this, right out of college, I had a job lined up and it was at a nonprofit and I loved it. I was working with survivors of trafficking. And then I was headhunted for another job. And that job was a religious nonprofit. And as most religious nonprofits go, you do 7 roles for the price of 1. And you're tired and you want to die and it's exhausting. And so I kept burning out because I kept telling them, this is not a role for me. This is not what I can do. This is not me. This is not me. And then they would kind of be like, but then who are you? Or like, read this leadership book. And I would be like,
So
I
it was
don't.
like shamed. It was like you're doing all this work and it was like a shamed kind of thing.
In a sense, it was kind of like, I would say things like, you know, in my first interview, I said, I would be really good at X, Y, and Z, but the one thing that I'm not really great at is administrative. So just letting you know. The first thing they gave me was administrative. So, but then they were like, here, read this book called The CEO's Secret Weapon and read this book called The Winning Attitude. And I was like, none of this is fucking working. So anyway, as you know, as everyone can imagine, I totally burnt out and I handled it really well. And by really well, I mean that I didn't handle it well at all. I packed all my shit and I moved to North Carolina for 3 months because I was like, I want to get away from here. And but it dawned on me that I wasn't able to stand up for myself because I didn't know myself past my favorite foods, my favorite colors, my temperament, right? And I had a friend and she said, hey, I heard of this thing, this is years ago, called the Enneagrams. Maybe you can look into it. And then it realized it was not called the Enneagrams, it's called the Enneagram. But it was the first thing I was able to identify with 100%. And I felt that it was sustainable. And when I realized I wanted to be a coach and help people figure out what was stopping them from their goals, I was like, there's no way your fundamental innate personality has nothing to do with what's stopping you. Like this has to be a big piece of it. And it has been the most sustainable thing in coaching so far. Like I don't work with the same client twice because this shit works. So it's great.
It's good and bad. It's like I helped you, but then it's like, oh,
you don't need me anymore. Yeah.
But what I really like about this is that it doesn't suppress. Like I know with certain therapy methods or whatever, it seems like suppression and trying to be something that you're not. But this, it seems like, okay, acknowledge your weakness and then the opposite of that, or like it turns your weakness into a strength, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. I always joke around and I say things like I love Myers-Briggs, but it's a different purpose, right? It's kind of works really well in the workplace, but that's more outside in. It's how do I see the world? How do I respond to the world? With the Enneagram, it's inside out. It's okay, I walk into a room and I do X, Y, and Z, but why? Like Dom was saying, I procrastinate. And my first question is, but why? Because some people procrastinate because they're afraid to fail. Some people procrastinate because they're afraid of the end. Some people procrastinate because they just don't fucking feel like it. So it's identifying your why. It's inside out. I don't care what you're doing when you walk into a room. I want to know why the fuck you're doing it. Like that's
wow. That is so interesting.
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
every emotion is linked to a deeper reason.
Exactly. There's always, and it's funny because the farther you go back or the more downish, the more down you dig, the more you dig deep, you're going to see a pattern. It's the same shit over and over with a different mask on. Wow. It's the same thing over and over, the same why over and over. And people don't realize it. They just, we're all in survival mode. We walk into a room, we scan the room, we make sure we're not in danger. We make sure nothing's a threat and we're fine. But underneath the surface, there's so much more working that you don't even see.
Oh, yeah. I know with open mics, I used to go to them and then not like chicken out with performing. And then I realized like, okay, I'm not going to die. Like if I do an open mic, like I don't know why I physically felt like I was going to die. That's why I chickened out.
Yeah.
Like what?
That's trauma. And we call it big T and little T, right? Big trauma could be massive car accident. Little T could be, you were 7 and dinner was at 5 p.m. instead of 6 and it's never at 5 p.m. and that threw you off. I mean, there's big T, there's little T, and there's something that could have set you off that was little T or big T in that moment. It had nothing to do with going and performing in the open mic.
Interesting.
Wow. That is wild in itself. Yeah, that's I'm sitting here mind blown right now. Like, I'll be honest, when I was originally thinking life coach in my mind, I wasn't thinking this deep. Like I was thinking, you know
Yeah.
how you get these people on YouTube, like, come on, suck it up. Wake up at 5 a.m. And these people are, it's
Right.
Monday. You know.
Yeah,
But
no,
this
I
was
don't.
Oh, so
really
hard.
explaining a couple.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh no.
this is really explaining a few things. Like you read me like a book when you said afraid to fail. I think that's literally been my story. Like I'll put off anything just because then I feel like maybe it is an excuse, like I don't have to do it. Even
Mm.
like typing up a couple words on a computer, which is like physically is nothing, I'd go move a couch before I did that. Like I'd be like,
Yeah.
that's easier than me, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yes. You
I don't
start
know if I have
cleaning a
a
bunch of
little T.
stuff.
Yeah, little T from not thinking I could do something, maybe.
Right. That's very
That's
possible.
what
I mean,
that's
and
meaning.
we all have our big T's and little T's, and we don't always know what they are. Some people are like, no, I have no trauma, I have a great childhood. I'm like, you're a fucking liar. Like we all have drama, like whatever. But yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like, okay, this is gonna sound weird, but this is the best example I can think of is, if there's a woman out there who uses a period app and your period's like a day early or a day late, what the app does is it sends you a message that says updating for future cycles. And
Right.
when you're a child and you have a coping mechanism that works, which could be avoiding or becoming aggressive or throwing a tantrum, whatever your coping mechanism works, if it works, your body, it's kind of like that update that says updating for future cycles, right? It's kind of like, okay, this worked now. We're keeping this until it stops working. And so sometimes we walk around as adults
Yeah.
procrastinating or being afraid of this or being afraid to stand up for ourselves or being afraid to not stand up for ourselves because that worked in childhood. So we think it works now. And we're walking around as 20 something, 30 something year olds doing what we did when we were 7 and we don't realize it.
Wow. Oh
Yeah.
man. I wish they taught this stuff in school. I feel
Yeah.
like we would be so much more prepared for the
Right.
world. There would be less unemployment. There would be more prosperity and health. Because, I feel like channeling stuff, like it does affect your body.
Mm-hmm.
My
yeah.
appendix exploded 2 years ago, but at the time, like this may or may not be totally unrelated, but I kind of do think it was related. I was like so stressed in my
Oh,
life.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, like I've never
Yeah.
been so stressed. And then my appendix exploded and it forced me to be bedridden for 2 months because I got sepsis. I was procrastinating my health. Like I thought I didn't validate my health. Like I was like, I feel weird. Oh, just keep plowing. I was like, keep plowing through life.
No,
And
don't
it's
fucking plow, dude. We're not Tony.
yeah,
No one here is Tony Robbins. Stop fucking plowing.
Yeah. When I was growing up, I remember I used to build these models with my father, and I know just out of love, he wanted them to be so perfect. That's just a little toy $8 model. And he'd be like, well, wait for me to get home. I don't want you to mess it up. And I don't know, like, wait. And I feel like maybe that's like what it is. I don't know. I can physically do stuff when I have to. Like I learned things like handyman work and stuff. So I know I could learn things. But when it comes to my art, somehow, I guess I just separate that because I have a few things I've been putting off for like in my mind, like 10 years, just putting down a
Yeah.
set list.
Right. I mean, the things that you don't want to do tell you one of two things. Either A, it's taking up too much of your energy and it needs to be delegated, right? Something like house cleaning, right? Or it's telling you that you don't trust your capability or your ability to do it. And based on, what you just told me about your dad and these little toy model things that you would build, and he said, wait for me to get home. It basically says, you cannot do this without somebody else breathing down your neck. So you need to wait until it's the perfect time to do this thing. And then the issue for you being a lone standing adult is that there's no perfect time to do anything. And there's no such thing as ready, but you don't do it because you don't know if it's going to be done right.
Yeah. Yeah, that is deep.
wow.
Yeah,
So
it goes
like
back to the
maybe
model.
he seeks validation from others because his dad validated him.
Or maybe it's just a lack of self-validation to get big things and small things done. Which I have a lot of clients who unfortunately they're like that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I built a bar cart from the ground up, but I couldn't hand in my finished term paper on time, even though it was done."
Right.
Because if you fail at the bar cart, the only one that sees it is you. It's like, oh, fuck it, whatever. I'll just add a nail here or a wooden board here. But when it comes to a term paper or your thesis or your final project that you have to hand in to your workplace, I mean, that's terrifying because that's a reflection of you.
Now, do you have you dealt with struggles with this in yourself? There was times when you were like, I'm putting things off, or I
Mhm.
don't. Oh, okay. Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
But from different perspectives, right? So for me, the things that I put off are things that had to do with me. Self-care. I mean, I even got to the point where my most basic needs were not being met. I wasn't eating, drinking water, brushing my teeth, taking a shower because I was so focused on helping other people. And if there was somebody else with a more pressing need, which obviously is very relative, but if there was somebody with a more pressing need or needed my help, anything for me to get away from myself, right? So I would just not meet those needs. So I would put off things that had to do with me for a very different reason than you did.
Okay. Right. Yeah. See, I know some other things that I'll do. I guess is I don't know if like. I guess yeah. I will put things off completely, like you said, Amy, without going to the mics or things like that. And also, yeah. I guess not I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. Not just like I guess there's a certain perfectionism, like we were saying before, like with jokes, we feel like they're never done and things like this. And even with me with social media, I tell these stories and it's hard to just even with no validation, like there's a lot of times I recorded stories and never put them up because I'm like, this is just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if that's like a thing to where you can see, is there a certain point when it's like, hey, you just gotta do it, or is that the same as the little trauma, big trauma? I don't know what I'm trying to say really.
I feel like I understand. Are you familiar with the term imposter syndrome?
Oh yeah.
No, I'm not.
Okay, that sounds a lot like imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is essentially the fear of succeeding or the fear of achievement because you feel like somebody is going to find you out as a fake, a fraud, or a phony, or that you're not really as good as they think you are, and like the rug's going to be pulled out from under you. So it's kind of like, I'm going to work my ass off to earn what I want to earn, but I'm never going to cross the finish line because I feel like someone's going to take it from me because it was never mine. I never earned this. I never deserved this. I was never actually good enough for it, even though I got here.
Wow. Yeah, that's a hard thing to get over. What are some steps? How somebody even get over that?
By looking at reality. Because look, when we don't stop and take a look at reality the way we do, like if you look outside and you go, it's sunny, you don't realize it's cold because you haven't stepped outside, but you can see it's sunny. So it's interesting that we look at reality where it's like, I feel like if I put this story up, people are gonna be like, this guy's not that fucking funny. And they're gonna stop caring. But reality is like, well, you got to where you are. You have a certain following because you are funny. You have a certain traction or whatever because you did earn it. So it's kind of like looking at reality and saying, well, I wouldn't be where I am now if these things I thought about myself were actually true. And I can make a mistake while I keep climbing to the top. So it's pushing past your fear, but also getting a little realistic by saying like, well, I'm here because I did this well. I'm here because I earned it. I'm here because I worked for it. I'm here because some people think I'm funny, even if it's just one person.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like you put in the work, you put in the hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's evidence that it's worth putting up or.
Yeah. And I think even just to even ask yourself, like, does anybody really have the fucking right to take away from me the thing that I'm gifted in? No.
Yeah.
Like, please, like that's not a real thing. That's,
So true. No one, we're all humans. We all have a brain, a heart.
Mhm.
I definitely feel like a lot my way. I self-sabotage myself. I make excuses. I don't know what the root of the problem is. I mean, maybe it is exactly that simple as, hey, I just don't think I'll be famous, or maybe I don't think I deserve it. And that's like, like, was it that easy to become famous? I'm sure my friends would be by now. I don't know I mean, maybe it is a lot of fear too. I just wish I could somehow click it and just change myself. Like, this is why I wish that we had computer DNA to go in our brain, because I would just
Yeah.
program it, type up this book, 16 hours,
Yes.
get it done.
Your brain is constantly changing, and it's changing based on what you do and what you don't do. So if you really want things to change and you recognize, I'm afraid to press the post button, but I thought this was really good, which is why I made it. Press the fucking post button, my friend. You're literally gonna just change
Press
your
the
brain.
post button.
Press the
Yeah,
post
press
button,
the
bitch.
post button, PPB. You
But
down
it's
with PPB?
The worst is when you press post and then you lose followers. It's like, yay,
I
we did it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, listen, I got like 800 followers. I know most of them, and I post a story of like a selfie, and then I'll lose like 10 followers. I'm like, fuck you guys.
I think it's like jealousy. Like, people don't like to
Mhm.
see people like trying sometimes.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh, this is annoying. She's trying too hard. Hit.
Right.
But no,
Yeah.
but seriously, you change your brain based on what you do and what you don't do. Like, and I'm not saying you change your perception. You literally change the shape, the grooves, the patterns, the edges, the neurons in your brain when you do something, when you do anything, or when you don't do anything. So you want to change stuff, then fucking change stuff. You know what I mean?
That
Wow.
is deep.
Is that what
That is
neuroplasticity is? I
Yes,
hear a lot.
neuroplasticity.
Cool. That's interesting. So, like, you could think of it like this. Do I want to improve my brain or decrease my brain flow?
Right. And it's I tell people too, like, people are like, let's say somebody has walked around for 10 years telling themselves, I'm incapable, I'm incapable. It's not enough to just stop saying that. You have to reverse it, because your brain literally thinks that's reality. So you can stop saying it, but everything you approach, it's going to come from the lens of like, I'm incapable though. I'm incapable though. So you have to literally undo it. So like, I look in the mirror every morning, because I spent a lot of years telling myself that I was really ugly. And now I spend a lot of time every morning. I look in the mirror and I'm like, you're a bad bitch. And I do it.
love that. I need to do that. Oh my God. When I wear my glasses, no makeup, I feel like I'm a peach, just like my face is a peach. I got to start doing that. Like,
Right.
it's like,
I got caveman.
no.
I look like a caveman. On this side.
All right. Jackie, we have some, Dom and I have some mirror work we got to do.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my
That
thing.
is fun.
Oh my God. I have some core beliefs that are really distorted, but like one thing I've noticed with TikTok, I see people like social media is warping the brains in a whole new way. But I see people, they go viral, okay? Like, not even trying.
Oh, that was me. I accidentally had one video go viral. I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
That's amazing.
But it was
That
an
is great.
accident. I had a hair roller in my hair, like at the top, because I was like blowing my hair out. And I was like, let me do a story. It's half my face because I didn't tweeze my mustache. So it's like half my face. And I did this thing where it was like, tell me about a time when you intuitively knew you were being cheated on, but you had no proof, and how you found out. So I told the story of how I had a feeling that my ex was cheating on me. And I said, did you cheat on me? And he said no. And then I said, well, she called me and she told me everything, which is obviously a lie. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. And I was like, oh, well, fuck you. She didn't tell me anything. Like, you really did cheat on me. And then I hung up on him. But like that,
So
that like went viral. I was like, what?
That's amazing. And I'm sorry that he cheated on you, but also he showed you who he was so you could avoid that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I was like, nah, bye. Like, I had no emotion towards it. I was like, ugh.
Oh my gosh. Was
But
that
yes.
over the quarantine?
Oh no, God, no. I've been with the same partner for 2 years now, and life's been peachy. So, but
That's awesome.
he was Terrible. But yes, I did cut you off by saying that
No,
we were talking
that's
about how TikTok is like rewiring everyone's brain.
yeah. And so like I will sit down and write, and then when I post, it's like I don't see myself worthy of my video going viral. I do not expect it,
That's
but
why
I
it's not
see
going viral.
what's that?
That's why it's not going viral.
Right. And how do I change that? Because it's like I know I'm making better content than the woman in a bra smoking a cigarette saying F 2020. Like I know my content is a little just a little bit better than that. I get my ring lights out, I put on makeup and stuff. How do I
Yeah.
change that core belief?
I mean, well, it's interesting that's your core belief because you literally just said, well, it's better than this person, and we don't do comparison around here, but you can compare a little bit. And you're saying that I put this effort in. So instead of saying I put this effort in, why isn't it going viral? I'm putting this effort in so that when my one video that ends up going viral goes viral, everyone will have tons of amazing fucking content to look through when they're scrolling through the rest of my TikTok.
Oh, that little tweak was kind of it was impactful because it changed it from lacking to like it changed it from why this isn't going to go viral to hey, the
When it
acceptance.
does. Yes.
Yeah, like the acceptance of hey, this one video doesn't have to go viral, but when a video does, it serves as a cushion
Mhm.
for content. I like that. Cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell my clients this, like, when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to setting goals, I'm like, what you allow, you create. So if you allow yourself to have these negative thoughts, if you allow yourself to be like, well, I look like shit, so hope it goes viral. Like, if you allow that stuff, you're creating a
Oh,
whole universe where that shit's okay. Or if you allow someone to talk to you a certain way, you're creating a relationship like that. So what you allow, you create. So I ask myself when I have like, listen, it's okay to have bad days and negative thoughts as long as you have reality by your side at all times. It's okay. But I always ask myself, like, what am I accidentally creating right now? Like, what am I accidentally creating without thinking about it? So that's why, like, if I don't care who you are in my life, if you speak to me in a certain way and I know you're not joking, you're going to get called out on it because I am not creating that. No.
I love that. So it's assertive too. It's not like magic, like like think and it'll be. It's like being in the moment and affirming, like excuse it's acknowledgement, and then you can move on a little bit, right? Like if someone is disrespectful, instead of ignoring it and like I'm just gonna think rainbows and be at my good place, it's like, whoa, excuse me, not okay. Being okay with not being liked too. That's what that takes too.
Oof,
I mean, in my past, people say rude things and I'm just like, I'm just gonna let it go because I don't want their energy even more in my life. But then by not acknowledging it, I co-signed. Like, hey, that's okay. No.
Well, listen, I okay. Well-adjusted people don't make fun of other people. So if somebody makes fun of
Ooh.
you, it's a reflection of them. You can let that go without even letting it touch you. If someone says some shit about you, you're like,
Oh,
wow, I feel so much compassion because that person's not well-adjusted.
wow. I worked in a hair salon and I've never experienced adult bullying. It was the weirdest thing. Like,
Yep.
we were grown women and these two girls, they were taking pictures of me while I was eating. And
Wow.
it was just like and they would talk to me in a way that was belittling, but in a they did it with they did it positive but belittling. Like you'd be like, "Oh, Amy, we're going to come see your comedy show." Like by book, that's not rude. But the energy, we're gonna come see your comedy show. When are you performing? It was like,
When are you gonna stop being emotionally stunted, you dumb bitch?
ooh, I
Yeah.
love that. Yes. Oh my gosh.
When somebody makes fun of me, I actually I've done this quite a few times and it usually disarms people like almost immediately because what the fuck? But like someone will say something to me and I'm like, wow, well, we're not that close. So that sounds like a pretty tough pain point for you. Do you want to talk about it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, have a great day.
I love that. So, like, if we were to apply using that, like, how could we apply using that? Like, let's say in that moment, you know, where I felt like really unsafe.
Mhm.
But knowing that they just took pictures and would snicker and like whisper and was just so belittling. I mean, what would be a way to assert self like with what you just said?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, like I can unfortunately relate to that. People just have taken pictures as a way of bullying because they want to make you feel small. I pose for them. I smile.
I
And what are you gonna fucking do with
Middle
that?
finger.
Nothing. Like I look great in that picture. You can't do nothing about it. Like you know what I mean?
That is true. I'm always afraid someone's gonna draw a mustache on me, but so be it. So be it.
So be it. I look like a handsome French man. Like please.
Right.
But I think honestly, it depends. You can confront it head on, or you can just let it not bother you. I'm the kind of person that will confront head on. I'll say you can delete that picture because you don't have any of my consent. And I think that's fucking weird that you are so intimidated by me that you want to spend your break taking pictures of me instead of resting. That's really sad. So sorry for you.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like I think you have to confront it with reality. Like I put aside what I'm feeling in that moment. I recognize it 100%. I recognize it later. I give space to it to like tell me what it needs to tell me. But in that moment, I do damage control and I confront. And so I've told people like, is this really how you want to spend your break?
Ooh,
Is this what you want to do right now? Is this going to make your time valuable? I'll pose. Tell me how to pose. You want me to put a
right.
spoonful of soup in my mouth? I'll do it for you. Like what the fuck do you want from me? Like, you know, but to really just come from that place that's like, if somebody is really making fun of you as an adult, they're so unadjusted as humans in society that
Yes.
like it really can't bother you that much. It really
So
can't.
true. And you know,
No.
it's like it was so weird. It's like I've never experienced this level, but also, you know, hair salon, maybe it was like
Sure.
insecure, but also I was always like, you know, when you're excited about something, you know, like doing comedy and stuff, it always, all my day jobs, it always gave me a reason to get out.
Yeah.
But I guess that was, you know, they were always complaining about, you know, being, some people just hate their lives, and then
Yeah.
when someone's excited in their life, it's like a target. It's very weird.
It's true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And you can't escape that. It's unfortunate. You can't. What is that quote? If you want to avoid criticism, do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing.
Ooh.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, we can't.
Yes.
Now,
That's
what if,
just it's
you
like
know what?
it's
Oh
okay.
no.
It's okay to be disliked.
Mhm.
No one's gonna like everybody. And
Mhm.
it would be weird if they did.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that would be. You know, I wonder the people that are those people that just hate everybody that don't wanna, you know, do it. What's there? How to fix those people? Like, I wonder if they're purposely doing it, or if they're messed up like us and they're doing it for another. Like, you know, they can't help it either. Like, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I'm a shit on this person's career. I have a good friend of mine, a couple friends of mine, and they just never want to see anybody do good. I mean, no matter
They're not your
what it
friends.
is.
They're not your
Yeah,
friends. They're not your
yeah,
friends.
they shouldn't even be my
Because
friends.
they probably shit on you.
True.
That is
Well,
what I noticed.
here's the thing. I mean, if you walk into a room and your first instinct is to bully, that's because you're used to having a big personality and something about the other person's taking it away from you. And you're not well adjusted enough to say, I can still have a big personality and be myself around this person.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's like you can confront it or not, but that person's still not going to like you because there's something about you that's taking away their bigness in their head. And you can't fix that. You didn't give them their bigness. You can't take it away.
Wow.
Is it like the shadow effect? Like, I don't know much about it, but I read a little bit. There's something called the shadow effect. When you don't like somebody, it's because that quality
Mhm.
that you want is in them.
Oh yeah,
Like,
100%. Oh, 100%. That's like
Wow.
Oh my God. Like, I mean, it's the I have naturally thin eyebrows for a Middle Eastern woman. I'm Middle Eastern. So when I'm with friends and family, that's the first thing I look at. I look at their eyebrows. Why? Because I want eyebrows. Like, you know, and that's a small example, but that happens. Like, you think those bitches don't want to just walk around and be joyful all day and have like a side gig that they are working on making their full-time career? You think they really want to just be stuck in a hair salon highlighting bitchy people's hair? Like, you really, like, I'm just saying, you walk in with a pocket full of joy and a dream and courage, and they're like, fuck this bitch. Like, fuck you and your dreams, you know.
Right.
But you can't fix that. Like, that's the thing, you can't fix that. What you can do is
Yeah.
get around well-adjusted people in your personal life that balance everything out, so that person is just a small blip in a timeline, when in reality you're like, I have this whole support system that like thinks I'm the funniest fucking person.
Yes. So
Yeah.
true. And I was lucky to have like another stylist was like on, that she saw it as well, so it validated. It helps to have some sort of validation, but if one isn't lucky enough to have that kind of like
Mhm.
person that's on the same, like, to validate, like, is this really happening? It's important to validate it yourself. Like, okay, you know what? They're not well adjusted, and that's terrible for them.
Yeah.
I wish they I hope they find adjustment, or
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes your role, and I hate this, but the universe does what it does. And sometimes my role has been in people's lives the person that doesn't respond the way I don't hide and cry. That's not me. I've never been that person.
Ooh.
Anybody who's ever bullied me has ended up being my friend. And I don't know if that's been like my role in their life, is to show them like kindness and love, and I'm fine with that. But it's never affected me in that way. Like, I can only think of like one time a bully has really affected me, and that was 3rd grade. Fuck you, Ralph. But
Fuck you, Ralph.
fuck you, Ralph. But other than that, like, really, it's sometimes that's your positive self-reflection is a lesson to other people. And if someone's bullying you and you have a positive outlook on yourself and a positive self-reflection, and it doesn't affect you, that's going to teach that person without you even saying a word.
Wow. That reminds me of that Mary Ann Williamson quote. It's not that we are afraid to shine. Do you know that quote? I could pull it up.
Mhm.
It is that we are inadequate. I'm messing up the quote. To the opposite intention. Quote. Okay, here we go. Ooh, okay. So Marianne Williamson said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. The practice of forgiveness is blah, blah. Okay, love is what the word love is what we were born with. Fear is what we learned.
Mhm.
So, joy is what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things are. So, it's like the truth is joy, the truth is love. So, people aren't living in the truth when they're hating, and they are not, it's sad. So, by shining bright, hopefully, it can affect them for the positive, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Were you born and raised in South Jersey?
Yes. Oh, and
I hear
South
it.
Jersey, there's always a Central versus South. I always say Central
Central's not
Jersey.
real.
There, Stephen Colbert did a whole funny thing about Central versus South Jersey. But yeah, I'm like 15 minutes from Seaside Heights.
Okay, I hear it. I hear it. When you were saying hate, and I was like, that's such a South Jersey way to say it. And I'm in North Jersey, and I'm like, how do you say bagel?
Bagel.
No, honey.
I
No.
know. It's so
I'm
funny.
well adjusted, so I'm not gonna make fun of you, but you're not allowed to say bagel.
When I was a kid, our friend Allison would always be like, "It's bagel," or
It is
something.
bagel.
Bagel. What are you by East or Hasbrook Heights area?
Yeah, I'm like 15 minutes from there.
Cool. My cousin My cousin's there. My dad grew up in Garfield. But
All right. Okay.
do you go to New York City a lot?
Before the pandemic, yeah, but I went to the city for the first time Saturday, actually, because it was my birthday. So my
Happy
partner,
belated birthday.
thank you. My partner, my brother, and my sister took me to see the large glowing plant from afar. So
The
Wow,
Christmas
the large
tree.
growing plant. Happy
I
birthday.
love that.
That is a cool birthday present. It never stops growing.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I heard the South Jersey in your voice, and I was like, man, I want to fight her.
I know this accent. When I was in LA, waitressing, a lot of the tourists, people from all over the world, I would wait on, and they'd be like, "Are you from the Midwest?" They thought this was like a Midwest or Southern accent. I was like, I wish I was from the Midwest. Now that I'm older, I'm proud to be born and raised Jersey.
Yeah, I feel that.
So you have a podcast too, right?
I do.
It is called the Table for 9 podcast. I like that. And that is because an Enneagram has 9 I keep saying
It's okay.
how do you
The Enneagram.
Enneagram. So that is the 9 symbolizes the 9 different Enneagrams, right?
Yes, exactly. And so my goal when I was starting my business, starting my podcast was like, I met so many people who were like, I don't get along with that person because they're a 7. I don't get along with that person because they're a 5. And I was like, okay, well-adjusted people. I mean, talking about well-adjusted people all day. They don't not get along with people because of their fundamental personalities. That's bullshit. So I wanted to create a place where when you work on yourself, you feel comfortable having all 9 types around your table and still functioning like a human. So I love the idea of Table for 9, but yeah, 9 main personality types.
Cool. I'll take a look. And if listeners want to take a listen, it's they just gotta look up Table for 9 podcast. You're on Apple iTunes, or it's not Apple iTunes anymore, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. And then if people want to like get coaching services, check out Jackie's website, tablefor9coaching.com. An NLP practitioner, is that like Tony Robbins stuff?
I have no idea about anything Tony Robbins because he's so not what I do. But NLP is a neuro-linguistic practitioner. So neuro-linguistic programming essentially. So it's like neuro, your brain, linguistic, your speech, programming, your behavior. So it's the connection between all 3, watching someone's speech and then thinking about their thoughts, or listening to, watching someone's brain pattern and seeing how it affects their thoughts and actions, or seeing their actions and wondering what's going on with their brains and their speech. So it's a helpful coaching tool when I'm trying to pull it out of people,
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It's kind of like self-sabotaging patterns. It's like, okay, why? Yeah, why am I doing this? Like the actions don't line up with what you want.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
One thing I was wondering, this is like a side subject. I don't even know if you'd have any information on this, but speaking of like neurons and like mirror neurons, do you see those? Like, you know how they'll say you act like people you hang out with, and like yawning's contagious. I really do see some of that in me and in my brother. Like, it's not just me. I don't really see it in my sister though, but I see it in me and my brother, where if we start hanging out with somebody, I'll just naturally mimic them. Like, I'll be a follower. I'll do the face that they make, or I don't know why I do that.
Well, I mean, sometimes it is the mirror neuron. Sometimes it's an insecurity thing. I have a friend who I wouldn't even call her a friend, but she is a very, very insecure person in the sense that she's confident about herself, but like never really feels confident in a group of people or in a crowd. So she'll like grab different catchphrases, different behaviors, different things like that, and try them out on herself. It's almost like she's trying to see, like, is this me? Is this me? Is this me? Is this me? It's
Yeah.
like her trying to figure herself out by mirroring other people. So, I mean, there's a million different ways to it. I don't know tons about mirror neurons, unfortunately. But a lot of times sometimes it's just habit. Like, the other day I opened my mouth and something my mom normally says came out and I was like, what the fuck? So sometimes it just happens. Yeah.
It might be a human thing because remember, everybody was like making fun of Meghan Markle for adopting a slight British accent. And I was like, honestly,
That's like a real thing. Yeah.
I would do that too. And, it's like when I'm around people, I think also it's like sensitivity. I'm a little like sensitive in the sense that I'm an empath. So I feel, and so I naturally kind of adapt a little bit. Maybe I'm trying to relate, but I'm just like, if I hear something, I pick it up.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something with that. But hey, guys, lay off Meghan Markle. I would do the same thing. You bet I'd be talking with a British accent. Way better than this one.
Girlfriend was trying to survive the royal family. Okay. She was surviving.
Right. Seriously. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure on the mirror neurons. But I mean, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, like, because sometimes I'll hear someone say something really cool, and I'm like, that's a fucking great phrase. I want to use that. But it's not. It's intentional. Like, it's not like oh my god, I didn't even realize.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's something I've been wondering about for years because I've been mindful of it and I just do it anyways. Like I know somebody that holds their mouth a certain way, like I don't know why they do it. I'll catch myself at the store doing it, and I'll be like, "What are you doing, dog? Like, why are you acting like this?" Like I can't even hang out with nobody because I act like I swear to God, I pull so many people's traits.
Can't have no friends.
Yeah. But I do see it a little bit in my brother too. Like if he watches a movie, and there's a few people I've seen like this. Like, have you ever worked with somebody and you just know when they watch the movie, they start acting like the person or anything like that? Like, they'll start saying a certain thing. I see it in other people. Like, one of my friends just kept saying "A," and I found out he was hanging out with a guy that was from Canada. But it took me a few weeks. Every time I'm talking to him, he goes, "Yeah, so I'm going down the street, eh?" And he just starts saying this out of nowhere.
Okay, I have a friend like that too. I have a friend, one of our good friends is Australian. So he'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to the gym, yeah?" And so now my friend who's Filipino American is like, "Oh yeah, we're going to Panera, yeah?" And I'm like, "Ew. Ew." Stop.
That's like I can always tell who was heavily influenced by Goodfellas and like Scarface and all that.
Yeah.
What's the other one with
Sopranos?
Sopranos, the one with Al Pacino, or I guess they're all with The Godfather. Yeah,
Godfather,
like all my friends that are like a quarter Italian, like they're
hey, where's the gabagoo? Where's the mozzarella? I'm like,
right. Hey, but they wear like Scarface oversized t-shirts. When I lived in LA though, I got like more of a relaxed kind of thing, way of speaking. I don't know why.
I was gonna say, I feel like I hear it in your the way you say words. I'm like, oh, South Jersey, but in the way that you speak, it's very LA. And I'm like, I live a stone's throw from New York City, so I'm gonna talk loud, fast, and hard, and you have to keep up. Like I'm so opposite.
My ex-boyfriend, born and raised in Brooklyn, he had a very heavy accent, and then I like developed that kind of accent. I went to visit my friends in LA last year, and they're like, I didn't remember you having this heavy of a New York accent. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to relax it, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely get a West Coast vibe from you too, Amy. I've always felt like that. You got that shit. We should post a pic. The Mel's Diner that you always talk about is just like the coolest diner. I don't know if you're ever in LA, Jackie, but if you do, just go check that spot out. It is cool.
I gotta go there. Are you in LA now, Dom?
No, but I just went there on vacation for the first time ever. Like, so that was cool. It was the first time I flew and everything. There was no fear to that though. I just didn't have the money, so I just
Yeah.
never went anywhere. But it was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Awesome. I've never been, but I gotta go. I gotta go soon.
It's amazing. Every day I would wake up and it felt like Disney World almost. Just like
Mm.
everything is, I think, because you meet a lot of creative people there too, to where I would meet people and automatically connect with them.
Yeah.
As
That's what I want. It's there's so many. Okay, I lived in North Carolina for a few months, and I don't think I ever met somebody who felt like a stranger, and I've lived next to New York City my whole life, and most of the people I pass and some people I see daily are strangers, and it's just so odd to me. And so I'm like dying to live in a place, because I can live wherever I want with my business.
that's
So I'm
awesome.
dying to live in a place where nobody's a stranger, because
Yes.
that's how I treat people, so just that's interesting to know.
I have yet to do a lot of traveling. I know my cousin lived in North Carolina for like 6 months. He loved it. It was just for work, and he really loved it. So
Oh
I
yeah.
know people speak highly about it. I know I have some friends in Tennessee that are like, yo, you gotta come down here, which surprised me because I didn't think Tennessee was, whatever. I don't know why we're talking about that, but world traveling would be one of my things. Hopefully, when the world comes back, we could all come
Yes.
support each other's. Would you do live events like after the world's together? Would you do something like that to reach a lot of people?
Oh yeah, no, I've totally done that. I mean, I'm not a person enough yet to do like a conference or something, but I've done live trainings. Like I'll go to a company and I'll do a training, or like I went to a yoga studio and did training on all the types and how to work together. So yeah, I've definitely done that. It was weird doing that over Zoom.
Yeah, it
It,
is.
it's so weird because you can't
I'm
really feel the
sure.
crowd. It's so weird.
Right.
But so during the pandemic has been a lot of one-on-one clients and not as many groups over Zoom. I think one group over Zoom, but yeah, no, normally I would totally do live trainings and stuff like that. And then hopefully one day like a conference type thing, like a gathering.
Do you have any stage fright, or do you have to come over stage fright from doing the live things?
No, my stage fright honestly has more to do with like, do I look like I have it together, like physically? Like, does my hair look okay? Because I'm the kind of person that like I won't notice if my hair is disheveled, or like if my shirt's wrinkled,
Same.
or if I have a stain.
Right.
So, but other
Oh,
than that,
same.
because I know my material and I know how to read people, like I'm fairly confident. I've had my moments, of course, but I'm fairly confident when I get up there. It's more just like, well, how do I appear?
Right.
Because once, like, if your shirt's not tucked in, there's somebody who's not paying attention to you because they can't look past the shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
no,
think about that often.
I've had that with shoes that were too flashy. I kept seeing people looking at my shoes, and I definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
What's your preparation like when you get ready for, like, if you're gonna go do a speech? How would you start preparing for that? Like, if you just were like, hey, I got to do a conference with 50 people,
Hmm.
and I have to do, like, I don't know how long you do, an hour or whatever.
It's usually more than that. So essentially what I do is I connect with the person who's hosting it. Sometimes it's like an office manager or like the person running the gig or whatever. And I'll ask them, okay, tell me about this crowd. Tell me what they want to learn. Give me like 3 or 4 people that are very different from each other in the crowd and tell me about them. I'll, ask a bunch of questions like that. And then I ask them really what they want to focus on. What are their biggest needs in the office? And sometimes they don't really know. So I just let them talk and then I put pieces together and I'm like, okay, this would be good for them. And then from there, I prepare. I already have a lot of the base work prepared for what I'm going to say. So I just kind of alter who I'm speaking to and how I'm going to say it and what my delivery is going to be. And then I make sure all of my black clothes are all washed. and then
And
I'm
don't
good to
pet
go.
the cat.
Don't pet the cat.
What would you say is the number one or top reason that you see that people get in their own way?
Ooh.
Like, what makes them fail? But I don't want to sound too harsh, but
No, that's fine. The biggest thing that holds people back, gets in their way, or makes them fail is that they don't know themselves and they think they do, and it's a problem.
Wow.
Like,
How
I
can
thought sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll ask after.
Well, I was gonna say I thought that I knew myself pretty well because I could recognize my feelings. Like if someone was yelling at me, I could recognize, okay, scared or whatever. But that's not self-awareness doesn't start and end there. I didn't know my fundamental core values. I didn't know my why. I didn't know my core motivations. I didn't know any of that stuff. And I thought that I did. And I regret so many, not I wouldn't say regret, but I wish I could go back knowing what I know now and make decisions differently. But, thank God I'm here. Thank God I'm where I am. But it's that people think they know themselves, but they really don't. They know what pisses them off. They know their pet peeves. They know what kind of people they mesh well with, and they know people they don't mesh well with, but they don't know why. They don't know anything underneath the surface, and it screws everybody.
I was gonna say, like, how can people get to know themselves? I remember when I was a kid, and the advice, everybody gives kids, just be yourself. And it's like that if it was a tangible thing, if I could purchase being myself, that's so warped. Let me
Yeah.
purchase this. It tangible, but it's not tangible.
Right. It's
But I
like be
guess
yourself, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know what that
right,
means.
right. How can people find that? You mentioned search for your motivation and your why. So it's like, how can people realize who they are?
Well, so obviously my answer is the Enneagram, but my one thing that I think is tangible that everybody can do is ask yourself why until you feel like you have the actual answer you're looking for. So,
Whoa.
for example, you walk in and your husband or wife is on the couch playing video games or on their phone. They don't even look up at you and they barely grunt in your direction and you're pissed.
Ooh.
You go to the kitchen and the dishes aren't done and you have to do them. And he doesn't even look up at you. He doesn't actually sit and have dinner with you, blah, blah, blah. So my question to you is like, they don't grunt in your direction. What are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling like very dismissed. Okay, well, why? Because they didn't even look in my direction. So then I go to the kitchen and the dishes aren't done. Well, why does that make you angry? Well, because then I have to do them. Well, what's wrong with that? Because I'm the one that's always doing the dishes. Well, what's wrong with that? Why is that a problem? Because I'm doing fucking everything at work and now I'm doing everything at home and he doesn't even acknowledge me when I walk in. So I'm fucking tired. Imagine walking in and not even being able to recognize you're tired because somebody doesn't make a face at you and there's dishes in the sink. It takes a million steps to get to like, I'm tired. And imagine if you knew tired off the bat and you were able to communicate the second you walked in and you said, hey, I'm home. And if they don't look up, like you can say, hey, like that made me feel like a little crummy because I had a really long day and I'm tired. That would have changed everything instead of you being frustrated and slamming dishes around waiting for somebody to ask you what's wrong. So a really big thing is to just ask yourself what and why over and over and see what sticks.
Wow. I feel like that could save so many relationships, like work relationships, intimate relationships, family relationships. It's like, why do people dance around what they want when they could communicate it in a way before you get to that tipping point?
Because we're survival
boiling
people.
of like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
Because we're survival-based people. We don't want to deal. If we deal with our problems, pain is pain. Pain looks like running from a dinosaur and getting back into your cave. Pain also looks like talking about the hard stuff. Exactly. So we would rather trudge through and just, it's easier for me. How many times have we said this? It's easier for me to just do the thing than to communicate and explain and get mad that this person didn't do it. When in reality, what you allow, you create. So guess what you're doing? You're creating. Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's like opportunities. Like I'll be in my head, like complaining and feeling bad for myself in the what Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body, like, oh, this opportunity, I'm qualified, I deserve that, and it didn't. It went to the like the extrovert, totally drunk all the time. I always think like in life, like I go home and read. I teach myself things, but it's like that's invisible compared to the person going out, drinking, they get the opportunity, like I think
Yeah.
about that all the time, and it's like it upsets me. I'm like, I'm super qualified, I deserve it, like
Yeah.
I work so hard on myself, but it's not given. But instead of being in the pain body, I could communicate that I'm open for the
Mhm.
opportunity, like, hey, just so you know,
Yeah.
if the opportunity comes up, as opposed to going inward, shutting in, and thinking opportunities don't come to me, and then just
Yeah.
getting sad.
Exactly. Exactly. It's all about self-exploration and not settling for, like, if the word I don't know comes out of my mouth, I am searching for it, because if I don't know, it's still my fucking responsibility to figure it out.
Ooh, that goes to show you, these when people go on dates, oh my God, and they say, what do you want to do?
I
I
hate
don't know.
I
It
hate
drives me
dating. Dating is the fucking
Yes,
worst.
it drives me nuts. Like, my ex-boyfriend and I, we would always fight about food. It would be like, "What do you want?" I'd be like, "I want A, B, or C." But for him, he'd be like, "I don't care." And then I'd start making something and be like, "Ugh." It's like, "Tell me
Mm.
what you want."
I always
Just like,
joke around. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you tell me.
I was just gonna say I always joke around with my boyfriend, and I'm like, I would totally break up with you right now because you're pissing me off, but I don't want to sit through another first date and tell someone my favorite color again. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the truth. The small
I know.
talk.
Yeah,
All the
long-term relationships are nice because you can dive deep and explore
Mhm.
each other deeper, as opposed to being surface level with a bunch of people and not getting to the core.
Mhm.
yeah,
Love is work. Love is work.
there's sometimes I'll catch myself. I mean, I'm wise enough now with it, and honestly, I don't know why I do it. Like, if something makes me jealous or something, like maybe I do have some trust issues I'm dealing with. And now in this relationship, I'm like, I just don't bring that up because I know that's my mind just jumping to some
Mhm.
crazy stuff. But I do still catch myself like being somewhat spiteful or vengeful, and then I gotta be like, ugh, I hate that guy. I don't want to be that guy. Like, I
Mm.
won't take it to a certain level, but it'll be a natural thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, instead of saying, I hate that guy, I don't want to be that guy, why don't you ask yourself why that guy wants to come up for air?
yeah, why?
Ooh.
You
Why
know, like,
does he?
ask yourself, you're the only one, like, there are
Whoa.
times that, like, and I'm a very stable person, and I'm also very emotional. I'm not sensitive, but I'm emotional. So if I'm watching a movie, like if I watch the fucking Good Dinosaur, I will cry on the floor for hours, like that kind of thing. Um, yeah, but I there are times where, like, a very not so nice version of me comes to the surface, and I have to ask myself, why did she come up for air? What is she trying
Whoa.
to protect me from? What is she afraid of? Like,
Wow.
what's going on? And it's like, work hand in hand with your ego. Don't just be like, don't. Because I mean, how often do you tell a 2-year-old don't, and that's all they fucking want to do? And
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah,
like, don't be jealous, don't be like this, don't be vengeful, like, that's not gonna fucking work. But if you ask yourself, like, why did this part of me that I've managed for such a long time, why does it want to come up right now? Like, what is making that come up?
Wow.
You'd be
deep.
surprised how many patterns connect, when you start
Yeah.
asking yourself those questions and you realize, oh, like I said before, same shit, different mask.
It's just why,
Wow.
why? Yeah, the why. Was there something when you were coming up into the is it Enneagram? Did I say it right? Yeah.
Yeah,
When
Enneagram.
you were did you have some discoveries when you were exploring yours, that some bigger discoveries that you came across that you'd like to share, that you felt like
Yeah.
might have been somewhat groundbreaking, or maybe more of a root of the big snowball to bettering yourself,
Oh,
maybe?
100%. Oh my God, yes. So the first thing I realized was I had a ridiculous amount of self-abnegation going on. Not even to the point where I was willing to put my needs and preferences to the side. Like, that's okay. That's good. That's flexible. But no, like, I was not taking care of myself at all if there was somebody else with a
Mm.
need. And I did not realize why. And yes, I am still a very caring and giving person. But then I realized, oh my God, this is, and what the Enneagram taught me, I was like, I'm manipulating people. And I'm not a manipulative person. I'm not a spiteful person. But manipulation is still saying, I don't have needs. You
Yeah.
have needs. I don't need anything. You need something. I don't need help. You need help. Let me help you. Or creating a situation where somebody could possibly use your help and then making yourself available. I was doing that to get love. I didn't realize that. So they're giving me, like I was saying previously with that job that I had, they're giving me roles and I'm saying, sure. Because there's me and I want to be useful and I want to be loved and I want to be needed. But I was screwing myself. So that was the biggest realization for me. I was like, oh my God, I'm manipulating things around me. And now I'm in a relationship with my amazing partner who his top receiving love language is acts of service. So I have to make sure to keep myself in check all the time that I'm still meeting his love language and serving and being kind to him, but I'm also not crossing that line of like, I'm making myself needed to this person. I'm making myself needed. I don't want to do that anymore. So it's constantly managing myself to make sure that we have a balanced relationship. And thankfully he, I have a partner where he does the same. But that was the big thing for me was, oh my God, I would have never said that was manipulation. I'd been like, I'm a helpful person and you're just jealous. Like, you know what I mean?
As a people pleaser, I could totally relate. I remember as a kid, people be like, you want some soda? I was at, like a friend's house. The mom was like, you want some soda? And I'd be like, no, thank you. I'm good. But I wanted the soda.
Right.
And then I would be upset and like want to go home because I declined the soda.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was kind of manipulating by not being like, oh, they asked. Yeah, I'll take the soda. Yeah, this is what I want.
We're all trying to alter the way we're seen or the way. And that's
I wanted her to just give me the soda instead of asking. And it's like, that's kind of warped. It's like, you want the soda, she asked, take the soda. You don't have to play like Jedi mind games. Like,
and when you're little, and even some adults, we just assume that everybody else knows what we need, and that's just like not the case.
Yes. And in relationships, it's like communicate your needs.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, Jackie, this has been amazing. Like, I feel kind of a changed person. I'm going to apply. I'm legit going to apply what you mentioned today because it's true. Like, focus on why. What do you want? Why? Yeah. And if I do procrastinate writing my romantic comedy script, I will sit down and think, why? What am I afraid of? I'm afraid of not coming up with stuff that's good, and it's okay.
Yeah. I am definitely afraid of facing the fear, like you said, I think, of finding out that I'm not good. Like, I've been telling myself I'm good all these years, and then when I actually do finish these jokes and try to submit for TV, I guess, or whatever, it's like, I guess I'm not good. Or even what's so stupid
and what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? You're not going to die by having a bad joke.
And there, I still, just to give you a little encouragement, like I still have those moments when I do something new. Like when I put out a new podcast episode every Wednesday, I'm like, oh, this is the day I get canceled. Like, because you don't know. Like,
as comedians, we understand that.
Yeah. So I feel that, and that's something that you're gonna have to battle. But you just do. What's that movie that I love? Frozen 2, where she says, just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. And I have been living by that for the last year. Just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. And for me, the right thing is just putting out the podcast just cause. And for you, it's pushing the post button. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Just doing it. Just the picking
just do
up
it.
Nike, just
pen.
do it.
Yeah. That's what I need to live by.
Imagine really Nike sues us.
Yeah, right.
He was probably the biggest Nike procrastinator. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and so people can find your podcast on Apple Podcasts, new episodes every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then for coaching, table9coaching.com. And then your Instagram is at table9coaching too. That's great. You got all the handles across the board.
Exactly. It's all the same. It's Table for 9 Coaching, tablefor9coaching.com, table for 9coach. It's like all the freaking same. So no guesswork there.
That's great. I feel like everybody, everybody could benefit from this type of coaching, because it's like, even if one thinks they're totally perfect, it's like, manage it before a spiral happens, or maybe things aren't what they seem. I don't know. I'm just so I'm pro self-work, because it's like,
Yeah.
it's never done. The work is literally never done.
So true. It's not. And my favorite quote is when I went to Italy last year and I saw this quote and I wanted to cry, and it was in the Vatican, and it was Michelangelo, not the turtle, the painter, the one that did the ceiling. And the quote was, "I'm still learning. Michelangelo, age 89."
Wow.
I love
And
that.
I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
And
Yeah.
isn't that the whole point of life? It's like, why? It's the whole journey. Like, there's no end game, but it's just like figuring it out. It's the process.
Mhm.
This is a quote from Artist Way, Julia Cameron, I believe. But
I
leave
love that
and the net
book.
will appear. And it's the process. Love the process, not the payoff.
Mm-hmm. I had to read that book in college. I loved it so much.
Yeah, that is a
so
great book. I'm
Love that.
halfway through. About 5 years ago, I kind of just was like, oh, I put it off, honestly.
Why are you
The-
putting it off?
The morning pages, I was doing them and I did keep seeing. That's how I kind of know my answers. Those morning pages, I kept writing. I'm afraid to face the truth if I'm successful and things like this. And as soon as I start to get a little bit of a following in anything, I really do. I just stop doing it. I don't know why. I need to, well, I do know why, I guess, thanks to you and your life coaching. So this is like the Amazon pre-book to the life coaching special. You know how they give you the little preview? Well, this was a great preview that you gave us, because I really feel like it helped me a lot.
Good. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I thank you for trusting me with your people.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on. I'm definitely going to listen to your podcast and all that, because I mean, the information is literally like game changing. So
awesome. Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
it really is. I'm ready to type. Like, I'm like, we're gonna do it.
Yes. So I like to hear.
Good day, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on, Jackie, and follow Jackie at Table for 9 Coaching. And why not take a session?
Do it.
Yeah. I agree 100%. It's 100% worth it. I already know. Like, especially if you're struggling with procrastinating, this is the thing to do for sure. Like,
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
thank
guys.
you.
Well, thank you for listening to Good Afternoon, Planet Earth, and Happy New Year.
That's it for the show, folks. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, follow, and leave a good review if you can. We will be grateful for that. Follow us on Instagram at GapeTV. Good afternoon, Planet Earth.